Hello, this is Dominic from the Jack and Dom Radio Show, a weekly sports radio program, and although we broadcast on professional hardware, we do record our show mostly on my laptop, and sometimes I don't press record right when we start. Some shows will start right in the middle of a topic. Regardless, this show is a work of love and passion for sports with raw and transparent opinions between the two of us. So I hope you all enjoy.
This is WPX 91.5 FM HD1 Marquette. This is the Jack and Dom radio show here on WPX. Just want to let everyone know you can now get the show where you can find podcasts. Yes, you can find show where you can find podcasts. You can find us on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Just look up the Jack and Dom Radio Show. But also want to let everyone know we now are on social media. Woo! So you can currently find us on Twitter and Facebook at just look up the Jack and Dom Radio Show as well. That being said, good evening, everyone. Jack, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's been a long weekend, a really exciting weekend. We're ready to get back in the swing of things, you know?
Yeah. Well, a lot of things to talk about.
Oh, yes.
In obviously my favorite team, obviously no bias whatsoever. Men's basketball, Coach Matt has achieved his 100th career win as Northern Michigan basketball head coach. And one of the things that I was curious about, because there were, I believe, 5 other coaches before him that reached 100 wins.
Okay.
Who was the fastest to reach 100 wins? And so I was curious, like, was a record broken yesterday?
So who was the fastest?
Well, I'm gonna have to pull that up here in a second because
you did say Coach Matt was the second fastest.
Yes.
So kudos to him.
So no, a record was not broken yesterday.
But he came close. Sort
of. I think it was a 20 game difference or maybe a 15 game difference.
Oh, geez. Okay. He has turned this program around.
Yes, he has.
We are in a much better place than we were beforehand.
Yeah, we definitely were going through some dark ages in the 2000s.
They beat GV 79-52, which is impressive because I believe GV's had quite the good season on the men's side. Women's team loses 74-48 on their side. And you mentioned that we are 2-9-1 against Grand Valley collectively in all varsity sports.
Yeah.
Again,
do you know who the 2 wins are?
Well, it's got to be men's basketball.
It's got to be men's basketball. Yeah, it is men's basketball. Yep.
Wow, okay.
We faced them twice, and we beat them twice in men's basketball.
Are they a ranked team, too, or close to it? Or one of the conference favorites? I thought they were at the start of the season.
Not for men's basketball. For women's basketball, they're number one team in the country. So the famous coach, Stan Albeck, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Turns out he has like a portfolio. He coached Albion for a year, but then got a job at Northern Michigan, was very, very successful right off the bat, then got a job at the University of Denver for a few years, and then started coaching in the NBA.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Stan Albeck, he actually, his last year coaching, before he went back into assistant coaching, was, I think, the 86 Chicago Bulls.
Oh.
Which was Michael Jordan's first year, if I remember correctly.
That's
Michael Jordan's first year, Stan Albeck was coaching the Bulls for that 1 year because the owners, of course, being as divisive as they are.
Yeah, he was coach there for 1 year.
But Stan Albeck, I believe in 120-ish games, 125 games, got his 100th win. Like, if you look here, I have the year by year stats.
Yeah, they were really good.
Very few losses, and I believe under his tenureship beat Michigan State.
Ooh, that's awesome.
In the late 60s. So, yeah, and it was like 120-ish games. He was able to get his 100th win. And I think Coach Matt has, I believe, coached by 130 and change and got his 100th win.
That's awesome. You mentioned, though, there was a little bit of conflict with the
Okay, yes. So for all the hockey fans out there, having scuffles on the ice is quite common. Usually it's expected, right? That's a lot of people come and see that, even in college level, but definitely in professional level. It happens
it's commonplace.
The time. Now, when it happens in basketball, it's special because it doesn't happen that often. You know, it's just something you don't really see that often. And during the second half of the game, there was some heat being exchanged between some of the NMU and Grand Valley players, and even the our head coach just like had to like run across the court and like break up what was going on. Well, during the replay, obviously the refs have to like look at everything, see like what happened, who gets ejected, who doesn't get ejected, who gets technical. Apparently, one of the bench players, Cooper LePage, got off his seat and like floated towards the center of the court, not really doing anything, but like just like because he wanted to take a closer look. You're not supposed to do that,
right? You're not supposed to get up. So.
You're not really supposed to get up with something like that happening. And so someone who gets barely any playing time got ejected.
Yeah, you were saying some fans are saying free him because
free Coop. That's apparently what someone made a T-shirt just written free Coop. But I kind of did something better. Although it's impossible to
we can't show it on the
show an image. I made this.
Now, it's like he got arrested type of photo. Juliet Police Department. That's funny. That's good. Good stuff though.
You might see a T-shirt.
The men's basketball team has been good. I know they beat women, the Davenport women 80-41, and the men 86-57.
Yep.
So good wins there. Good things from our basketball teams.
Some good wins.
When in doubt, we can always rely on the basketball teams to at least be semi-decent compared to the rest of our teams.
And what I'm noticing, the general public is starting to really show up.
Showing up to those games.
The student section still needs some improvement.
Yeah, I think they got to win like another conference title or something to really get students in there. Maybe win a tournament game for the first time.
Have you been to any of the hockey games recently?
No.
Okay, because
hockey is always going to have a presence though, because it's hockey, even when we're terrible. Basketball, you got to have a better team, I think, to get a crowd. It's like when you go to a school like Michigan, and you're like, why doesn't Michigan hockey or volleyball?
Although I'll say Wisconsin and Nebraska volleyball are like,
but you look at Michigan like basketball or hockey and volleyball, like they'd have to be winning a title to get that kind of crowd.
Yeah. Because I was going to ask you if the student section is less and less each game for hockey games, and I
haven't been, but I'm told it's had a decent presence. I think people are frustrated, but it's hockey.
But it's not full. It's not 100% full.
I haven't been there, but I don't think so based on friends of mine that have been.
Okay.
So yeah, I think more people will start showing up as you keep winning games and you start to really build the program more and more, And
the one thing I do want to mention for the Grand Valley men's game, apparently, when the refs were looking at the replay, Coach Matt got a little too close to the refs and got a technical as a result. And so there was a technical called on the floor from that. And the guy that they chose to shoot the 2 free throws missed both.
Oh.
Because the crowd that was comprised of mainly cordial, silent, older people from the general public actually got really upset and actually started like yelling, like actually like doing something for once, actually putting a lot of energy out there. It got really loud, and the guy missed both free throws, and then essentially it was Northern Michigan from that point on. It was literally focused rage. It was focused rage from Northern Michigan from that point on. And it showed up.
Good stuff too from our women's wrestling team winning their first meet 30-17, their first home meet against UW Oshkosh.
In the Vendiment, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. They're one of our best teams, one of our most consistent teams here at NMU. They recruit very well. One of the better programs, I think, in the country. So good to see them doing well, as always.
Going on in other sports, I know that Michigan State's basketball team ended a 15 or 16 game winning streak. They lost to unranked USC, but in-conference opponent. I know that's kind of weird to say.
Yeah.
But they're doing pretty well. I'm assuming Michigan's doing pretty well as well.
Well, if Michigan wins on Wednesday against Oregon, we'll be tied with Purdue for second place in the conference.
Okay.
So, yes, both Michigan and Michigan State look like tourney teams for sure. I think Michigan State will probably go Sweet 16. Purdue probably about the same.
Yeah.
Michigan maybe round of 32, Sweet 16. The Big Ten is kind of a mid-off right now.
Yeah.
I think State is a very good team, and I think they have the potential to go to like an Elite Eight or a Final Four. But I've also seen teams like Penn State, Illinois, USC, Ohio State, like some lower quality opponents who really give them some problems. UNC has been a pretty bad team this year. They gave them a lot of problems too. So they're not invincible.
No one is invincible.
Well, okay, there's been years where you look at Michigan State and you're like, this team looks invincible in Big Ten play.
Like the 2000 team?
I don't know that far back.
That's when we won the national championship.
No, I think like the year when you went to the Final Four was a big one with Jaren Jackson and Cassius Winston. And
then we had one bad game in the Final Four and we lost.
Right. But I do think those top three teams, you can throw in Wisconsin too, have the potential to make a run in the tournament.
Yeah.
Michigan especially, but I think you see it a little bit too from Purdue. Very hot and cold. Like when Michigan is shooting and when their bigs are dominating the paint, they're almost unstoppable. When they turn the ball over, they get beat bad. In terms of Michigan State, I think for them...
Who's Michigan's coach this year?
Dusty May from FAU. Remember their insanity run to the Final Four?
I think so, because
2 years ago, I think.
Because wasn't their previous coach was like a Michigan man?
Juwan Howard,
yeah. And
that was a whole thing. He should have been gone a long time ago when he punched the official.
I still remember that.
Yeah, it was bad.
Wow, that didn't feel that long ago.
Yeah, he should have been let go even before he punched the official because they were going downhill fast. But I think what's happening with Michigan State is, at least in the game against USC, was a lack of production from their forwards and their center.
Yeah.
They play a 3-guard lineup, which is fine, but Jackson Kohler and I think is his first name. Oh, yeah, Jackson. Sismone Zapala, Carson Cooper, like a lot of their front court players really struggled. Frankie Fiddler. So I think that's their key. It's Michigan's got to limit the turnovers if they want to make a run to close out the Big Ten season. State's got to get their forwards going. And I don't know much about Purdue basketball because they're not super local, but just looking at some of the upsets they've had, they are a top 10 team, by the way, and in my opinion, the best team in the Big Ten. But if you want to critique them for something, it's that they have the exact opposite problem where they don't have much guard play. Mm-hmm. They're very much like the Purdue of old, where you've got, a Zach Edey type player in the middle.
Yeah, where is he
that
now?
They just feed. I believe he's on the Grizzlies.
Okay.
But with games
that man
where,
was a beast.
Yes, in games where Purdue does really well, they get a lot more production from their guards. So it's crucial for them to get their guards going, for State to get their front court going, and for Michigan to get the turnovers down. Mm-hmm. I think any one of those three teams could make a run in March, and I know me as a Michigan fan and you as a State fan are both excited for basketball season after lackluster, I think, football seasons from both our teams. Although we closed it out on a nice note.
Yeah, you guys did. Alabama.
Beating the team that was supposedly snubbed from the playoff and the team that won it all.
I know. It's
so I guess
crazy.
we're de facto national champions.
No, don't say that. That's not true.
No, I kid. But
although all the national champions from all the respective divisions and associations are from the Midwest.
Well, the other cool part is the Big Ten is dominating football right now.
Yeah.
Do I think that'll last? No, absolutely not. Don't get delusional and think Big Ten's going to run football for the next decade.
That'd be cool.
SEC is going to come back with a vengeance next year.
Yeah.
Especially with the fact that I think Ohio State's going to regress. You lost both your coordinators. Your star receiver, Jeremiah Smith, is unhappy. I think he'll stay. You lost your quarterback, both your running backs, pretty much every player on your defense. It's kind of the same situation as Michigan, where expectations will remain high, but kind of in that rebuilding stage, you will lose some games.
I forgot. Ryan Day is his name. Okay, I was about to say who's the coach of Ohio State. So I was down in Ohio last week.
Oh yeah.
Because of unfortunately my grandfather passed away. And he lives down in Ohio. So I was down in Ohio with family and family friends and all that, and obviously got to tell everyone, including my dad, hey, congratulations on your team winning the national championship, even though it was I wish it was under better circumstances. A lot of the people, although they will tell you they're very appreciative, very happy, very excited about Ohio State winning the national championship, especially for the team. They're not the biggest fan of the coach. They've been very annoyed by the coach for what I've been told a little while now, especially his record against Michigan. But now that Ryan Day has won the national championship, they're a little saddened, at least in that aspect, they're stuck with them for the next few years.
They got to stop, though. He won him a national championship. Me, as a Michigan fan, says you got to give him credit now.
Yes.
They earned it. But I think they're going to take a big step back because you lose both your coordinators and most of your good players, other than you lose Ibuka, too. So Jeremiah Smith is going to be your focal point.
Yeah.
Oregon, I think, is also going to take I think they'll be elite as well. I don't think they'll take as big of a step back, but new quarterback, they will take a step back.
Yeah.
Less so, but a step back. I think it's going to be a four-way race between Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and Michigan. But I think the two favorites out of that group have to be Penn State, believe it or not, and Michigan. Yeah, I'm a little biased, but you've got five-star young QB coming in. You've got one of the top 10 transfer portal classes in the country. You've got an actual offensive coordinator who, for the record, helped develop quarterbacks like Drake May, who, if you look in the NFL, seems to be doing pretty all right. Seems like he developed solidly in college. That was who his OC was. Also worked with some other QBs, which I don't know the names of off the top of my head, but I can tell you he's worked with successful NFL QBs prior. Versus the guy we hired that had no prior coordinating experience. So that's good that we got a real offensive coordinator. It's Michigan. The defense is going to be solid.
Yeah.
And the freshman class is pretty elite. You got 2 5-stars, potentially a third. And you've got several impact transfers. You've got a couple from one from Bama, one from Clemson, a couple others. I think Michigan's going to be back to being elite, and I think Penn State is going to finally figure it out. I mean, you made it to where you did the semifinal, and you looked bad in the semifinal, and you had a pretty easy path there, right? Because you just had to beat Boise.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they got Ohio State's defensive coordinator, which is crazy because you literally downgraded from Ohio State. I think there's proof in the pudding that nobody likes Ohio State, not even their own coaches. But I think their defense is going to be elite, and I think even though Drew Aller and that offense is going to continue to be mediocre, I think they're going to use the blueprint of run the ball, Michigan football type of thing to get them to a great place. So I think you're going to see some combination of either Penn State or Oregon against Michigan. Maybe Ohio State sneaks in there. They're still going to be elite. I get that. But I just don't think if they couldn't beat this year's Michigan team with who they had, I don't see it happening next year. And I actually think Penn State will even beat them next year. So should be interesting to see what happens there. I know I pivoted really abruptly from college basketball to college football. But just important to mention that both Michigan and Michigan State have had great seasons in basketball this year, not so much in football. But it looks like both Michigan and Michigan State will be better on the football front come next year. Speaking of football.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
My Lions. Oh, boy. Even Ryan Kelly was talking to me about how disappointed he was about the Lions not winning. It's frustrating. We've talked about it on the air, I think, already, where I told you that I don't foresee us winning a title. I think now that I'm gotten some time to process that loss, I think we're going to come back next year not as the favorite. It's going to be the Eagles by a mile.
I know.
I think Washington's going to get even better. We are going to, the Rams, the Bucs. It's going to be a tough conference, and we've got probably the hardest schedule in the NFL.
Yes, and just to remind our listeners, we did not have a show last week, so that's why we're talking about this now.
Well, we also needed some time, as I think the entire city of Detroit did, to just kind of process it.
I know. But, I'm still like in shock a little bit because we had our off day.
Yeah.
Our off day was that day.
And still botched it. But I think what's most disappointing is you had your offensive coordinator go to division rival and take multiple position coaches.
There's only 32 positions in the world.
But you would hope that he doesn't go to a division rival. So the Bears are going to be better, which is going to make this even harder. And then you've also got Aaron Glenn going to the Jets, which I'm really excited for him, and I think he's going to turn the Jets around.
Is he going to keep Aaron Rodgers?
I think so. But I think the bottom line is you got your internal coordinator, defensive coordinator, and you got a guy, really risky OC pick, actually, I think, because previous offensive jobs that he's not done well. Then again, you had the Jets with Josh McCown at QB, so does that really count as a real season? I don't think so, because, what are you going to do with Josh McCown at QB? Like, there's only so much you can do, right?
Yeah.
And then he had another season where he was OC in college, also not great. But he's been an offensive assistant for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Played a big part in Bo Nix's development. So I don't know. Maybe he can work his magic on Jared Goff. We'll have to see.
Of course.
I foresee us going like 11-6, 12-5. I think we still win the division, but I think it's going to be closer than you think.
It's going to be a lot closer than it was.
Well, I think it'll be like this year again, where it's going to be down to the...
I know. We go 15-2.
Right.
It was like, which, by the way, amazing, great. But the Vikings are like right behind you. You think when you go 15-2,
right?
There's a lot of buffer behind you,
right?
With the other divisional opponents.
I won't touch on the Super Bowl too much just because I'm not tuning in because I have no interest. But you get a replay of 2 years ago with the Swifties versus the Eagles.
Yes, I heard there's a potential conspiracy with Taylor Swift in the NFL.
Not again. People gotta stop with that. But what I think is that I think the Chiefs will get their three-peat. I really do, even though the Eagles look on fire right now.
I do want to ask you, do you believe that now? Actually, I dropped something. Let me preface this question because, as you probably know, every year they make the logo for the Super Bowl logo like a year in advance. Yeah. And there's like, and they've been like right like almost every single time.
So what's next year's colors? Isn't it blue and purple?
It's like blue and a different shade of blue. They think the potential is Lions Bills.
Oh, is that what you think? Let me pull it up.
Lions Bills.
I don't believe in this conspiracy, but I do think it's funny because it's one that's not like, oh my God, they're like rigging it. It's just like funny coincidence. They've
been right. At least mostly right.
So that's what, Super Bowl 60 is next year?
Super Bowl 60 logo.
So you're talking about this one? Concept logo.
No,
you sure they made the real one already?
It's this one. This one.
Oh, I see. Well,
and it's two different shades of blue.
You've got the Golden Gate Bridge.
That's where it's going to be.
I know.
That's the location of the Super Bowl location.
I mean, that's Lions blue, so maybe that would be nice.
And potentially Bills blue as well. That's what that's what they're saying.
But if you look at like
what are the other blue themed NFL teams? Seahawks, maybe, but they're blue and green.
They're not really blue at all.
They're more green. The Patriots are more gray, right? They're gray uniforms.
I mean, you had last year's wasn't really
The Giants.
Okay.
The Giants.
But last year's wasn't really, though. You had a whole bunch of purple and no purple team.
Let me see. What?
See, if you look at Super Bowl 58, you had a bunch of purple and no purple team.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know about that.
What were you're talking about the one last year?
Yeah.
Oh, that was supposed to be one of Taylor Swift's albums with she's wearing a
for God's sakes. Okay.
A purple dress.
You're really stretching this out.
I'm not the one making this up. I didn't make the rules, okay? The NFL script might be a thing.
It's not real. Stop
Except for the Pro Bowl.
Stop it.
That anything can happen at the Pro Bowl.
Well, we'll see. If you're right next year, I'll be super excited because, boy, have we been waiting a long time.
Are we going to shave our head? Well, I don't even know if we'll have a show.
We'll see what we do next.
I might have graduated then.
Well, yeah, we'll see. The point is, I don't see it happening.
My girlfriend is very happy
we can dream on.
That the Lions lost in context to me shaving.
Well, we weren't going to do that anyway. We were going to change that up
maybe
for your girlfriend's sake. I would have changed it for your girlfriend's sake. But anyway,
yes.
I think it's going to be a boring Super Bowl. I think Chiefs win it in a last-second miracle of some kind, like they always do. I don't know what it's going to be. Probably a bad pass interference call or something.
Or Decker reported.
Something like that.
Goodness.
I don't know. But I think they're going to win in some BS way.
Yes.
And I think, here's the thing, is like, when it was Brady's Patriots winning every year, like you had some level.
Every year, but they were
won almost every year. You had some level of respect for them.
Showed up almost every year.
Because they did it in a special way. They either blew you out so bad that by halftime you were out of the game.
Yes.
Or they made incredible fourth quarter comebacks, but like legitimate fourth quarter comebacks. There was
what was the Vikings one? Was it 28-3 or something?
No, that was Falcons Patriots. You're talking about Viking Saints, right? The Minnesota Miracle.
The Minnesota Miracle when Diggs caught the ball.
That was a great one. That wasn't the Patriots though.
And then the defendant just whiffed a tackle.
But the thing about the Patriots though is like, there was never any, like, shred of a doubt. Like, when they won the game, there was no, like, oh, my goodness, the refs. What the heck? Like, the Chiefs always seem like, whether it's voodoo magic or the refs actually being bad at their jobs, they just got something.
Tom Brady had some voodoo magic.
But Tom Brady, like...
shows up to the Buccaneers and wins the Super Bowl.
Whatever those Patriots teams did.
Yes.
They just destroyed your will.
Yes.
Like, the 28-3 was just demoralizing. Like, that franchise hasn't recovered. You know, the Malcolm Butler interceptions.
Who was the quarterback?
It was Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
and I'm still sad he never got a Super Bowl. But
he's never the same.
You look at
sense?
Seattle. They were never the same. I mean, they got close a couple more times, but never went back.
Yeah.
You look at that Philly team that beat them. Now, they got lucky and got Jalen Hurts, but that Nick Foles, Carson Wentz situation.
Yeah, where are they?
They're both.
Carson Wentz
is a backup, and Foles is, I think, out of the league.
Okay.
So the Eagles recovered, but they were down for a couple of seasons.
They're back in the Super Bowl.
Trying to think of who else the Patriots played and beat a couple of times. The Rams, you had to get rid of Jared Goff and bring in Matthew Stafford, right?
Which they were able to win.
Which they did. Yeah. They came back and the Eagles came back, but you got demoralized by that team. The Chiefs, you just get pissed at the refs and you're like, come on. It's just a different feel, I feel like. I don't think there's any like, oh my God, the refs are rigging it for Patrick Mahomes type of thing.
So you think the Chiefs are going to win? Going to get a three-peat?
Yeah, but I don't think there's any like rigging or anything, but I do find it frustrating that it's not just the Chiefs, but it's primarily the Chiefs. I've seen it in other games too. Like if you watch the Packers-Eagles game and you watch the replay of the fumble on the first play, the Packers guy is literally sitting on it with his ass and like grabbing it with his hands. And they're like, Eagles ball. I'm like, no, I don't like the Packers either, but no. And it just frustrates me that in some of the biggest moments you have consistent questionable referee decisions when you have, you can go upstairs to LA and review those plays. Like they have the option to do that. It just frustrates me that there are consistent bad calls made in the biggest games. Like, that's something you got to fix, whether it's the Super Bowl, a playoff game, or even the Decker reporting thing. Like, and you just can't let that happen.
And this is one of those things. I know you're not the biggest fan of Mike Valenti.
I love Valenti.
But he would always say, and he would agree with you, but he would always say that when you as a team cannot put yourself in situations where if the refs make a bad call, it ruins the game. You have to be above it, and that's why I think the Lions this year
fair.
Was always they were ahead by so much that if there was a bad ref call, it didn't matter as much.
Well, that was injuries. That was a whole other problem. But I think that's not always the case, though, because you look at Vikings Saints, they were up by like 5 or 6 on the last play. They had that game won.
Yes.
They did everything right. Or sorry, not Vikings Saints, my bad. Rams Saints, sorry. That phantom PI call, right? Yeah. You did everything right. You had them throwing basically a 4 verts or a Hail Mary or pick your favorite long pass, right? You had that game won. You did everything right. You lost. Eagles, Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Again, you did everything right. You hold Patrick Mahomes to a 4th down. Should have had it. Bills, Chiefs this couple weeks ago. You get them to you're on a 4th down. 4th and 1. Should be a gimme. You get a clear 1st down. Now, you could argue, okay, and Mike Valenti would say, well, Dalton Kincaid should have caught the 4th down. Okay, that's fair.
I mean, anything can happen.
I understand blaming it on the refereeing if it's a blatantly obvious call. Yeah. If there's a shred of a doubt, like, okay. But, stuff like the Dez Bryant catch against Detroit. Or no, sorry, there was the phantom call against Detroit against Dallas. You had the Dez Bryant catch that same year against Green Bay. The holding call on the Saints against the Rams. You had the Chiefs-Bills. There are certain calls that change the outcome of the games when, like, a team should have the game won. Then it matters. If it's early in the game or it doesn't change the outcome, okay. Frustrated, it's stupid, I agree. But when you hand the Eagles the ball at the Packers 20, 1st and 10 to start the game on a clearly bad call, right, you start that team off on the wrong footing and you make it hard to come back in an away game. Or in the Bills-Chiefs, when the Bills are driving, you have to stay ahead of Mahomes. If Mahomes gets a lead, he's not giving it up.
Yep.
You get a clear 4th and 1 conversion, and they say, nope, didn't get it, right? Yes, you could technically overcome those refereeing decisions and win. And maybe you should. Maybe it's not the fault of the refs. But certainly the refs have a big outcome in those games. And regardless of who wins, which, by the way, I hate the Eagles so much, I want the Chiefs to win.
But, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Eagles and Cowboys are the only 2 teams I'd rather have lose than the Chiefs.
Well, let me bring this actually before I do. If anyone who is just joining us, this is WUPX 91.5 FM HD1 Marquette. This is the Jack and Dom radio show.
But I despise the Eagles.
Yes, and
they are so they're like Dallas, except for they can back it up, and it's frustrating that they can back it up.
Now, before I bring up this one question, I just wanted to bring up, obviously, what the Lions lost the Commanders. The Lions had obviously an off day with the 5 turnovers.
Yeah, that was rough.
And you could tell the Commanders did not deserve to be in the same stadium as the Eagles because the Eagles
They
shafted them 55-23.
They earned it. It was just,
bam.
They had their off day. We had ours. They earned it. But what I want to talk about before...
But I wanted to ask you this, because you obviously brought up the Eagles and Cowboys. This is already on the show sheet. Who is the worst fan base, NFL fan base? The Eagles or the Cowboys?
People are going to think I'm crazy for this, but I think it's the Eagles, and here's why.
Okay, go ahead.
I just laugh at the Cowboys. They can't back up a thing they say. They haven't won anything since I was born, even probably since you were born. You're not
goodness,
that much older than me.
What is it, Troy Aikman? Troy Aikman was the quarterback. They haven't won
anything. They haven't even been competitive since the 90s.
The early 90s.
I just laugh at them because they're just the definition of incompetent in the 21st century. Difference with the Eagles is they can back it up, and it frustrates me that they can back it up because I don't like all the smack talk. We've got kind of a mini rivalry with them, I think, at this point. And I think their fans have gotten really kind of entitled a little bit.
Yeah.
They're kind of like Chiefs fans, almost as insufferable as Chiefs fans, except for I have a little bit more respect for them than Chiefs fans because they're actual football fans and not Swifties.
Although I think a good number of them are just hopped on the bandwagon late.
That's true. And also, Swift is, I think, originally from Philly, so maybe we got some Taylor Swift bandwagons on that team too.
Possibly.
We got the Taylor Swift Super Bowl, don't we?
I will say, so with the Cowboys, right? You're right. They've not won anything big in a very long time, but they're everywhere. Stephen Smith has been known to say that if a nuclear bomb goes off in a city, 3 things will survive: cockroaches, rats, and a Cowboys fan, because they're everywhere.
And it's crazy because they're so bad.
And they're
America's team. Why?
I was in Meyer here in Marquette a few weeks ago, and some guy was wearing a Cowboys jersey.
Why? They're not America's team. They're not your team. America's team might be the Lions. It might be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I could see any number of other teams.
Yes.
It's not the Cowboys. We all hate the Cowboys.
Yes. Now with the Eagles, all right, the Philadelphia city officials are already preparing.
It's going to be bad.
For the worst. Not the best, the worst, because win or lose.
They always cause chaos.
They will riot in the streets. They will climb up the lampposts. They will tear down the street lights. They will, I'm not kidding, there's video of this, lick horse poo off the ground. When they win the Super Bowl, they act like they lost. And city officials are already prepared. They're already greasing up the lampposts. Already.
It's just insane.
They've already started.
Their fan base, I think, gets.
And here's even worse, because I don't even think you get this out of Cowboys fans. With Cowboys fans, there's everywhere. With Eagles fans, or actually, let me back up and preface this, right? So let's say you got, groups of fans walking in opposite directions, and, it's after a game, or even before a game or during a game, whatever, and there's a little bit of smack talk, there's a little bit of, camaraderie or whatever. There's always the little, hype up, right? Talking to the team. And for the vast majority of the fan bases, at least as far as I'm able to see, everyone walks away with a smile, with a little memory. It's not that bad, right? With Eagles fans, I'm telling you, they trash talk you. You say something back, they get right up in your face and want to fight you. Almost every single time.
Yeah, they are over the top.
Even the women do this. It's ridiculous.
I would just say, kind of to close that topic, they're just frustrating fans to be around on the internet, in real life. It's just frustrating.
And you know what?
Dallas fans have kind of shut up, though, because they haven't won anything. But Eagles fans just don't stop.
Yeah, they don't stop. And I think the saddest part is, at least for me personally, my personal favorite movie of all time is Invincible, starring Mark Wahlberg. I think it was made in 2005. And it was the story of a real man named Vince Papale back in the 70s. I think he did JUCO. He didn't do like any varsity college ball. And just as a regular guy in the street who was a substitute teacher, was able to go to open trials for the Eagles.
Oh, I think I watched
and got on the team.
See, that's a cool story.
And not just got on the team, but he was actually like a major contributing member of the special teams unit.
Which was awesome.
For a few years.
And I have respect for them for
and
that.
They're in the Eagles.
The Mean Green Eagles back in the 70s and 80s were cool. But now their fan base is just, I
don't know. I
just can't.
The Eagles fans then, at least what they were able to show in the movie or dramatize in the movie, they're still the same today.
They're rough. Okay.
Let's talk basketball. Let's talk about something else.
Luka,
yes.
I got the trade pulled up.
Okay, yes.
I think without even reading it, you can agree with me that Lakers get an A+, Mavericks get an F-.
Literally
I don't know,
out of nowhere.
I don't know what Dallas was thinking. They didn't even shop him around. They just handed him to the Lakers on a silver platter. I don't understand it. Clearly, they really wanted Anthony Davis, but
they wanted Luka gone.
I don't know about you, but an Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson lineup sounds great in 2015, but right now I don't think it's going to do a whole lot.
It's a lot of veteran players, but
they're not
it's short term.
Great veteran players. They haven't been doing well.
You'll get short term success.
Yeah,
but with long term success. The Lakers, that's why I like with the Lakers.
Right. The Lakers are thinking long-term. They're going to sign him to a Supermax. But what's really interesting here is you had last year Mark Cuban sold his majority share in the team. Mark Cuban was very active in basketball operations, worked very heavily with the GM, literally joked that he'd rather divorce his wife than trade Luka Doncic. He sells his majority share to a more hands-off ownership team, and then you have this.
And you have this, yes.
Just rioting in Dallas like people are pissed because you've given up your franchise player. The Lakers get Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris, and all Dallas gets is Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first. Yeah, 2029. So, and then the Jazz are the third team in this trade. They get Jalen Hood-Schifino and 2 second-round picks. But ultimately, I don't think there's any shred of a doubt in anybody's mind that Dallas loses this trade by a mile. This might be one of the all-time worst trades ever. And Dallas's rationale was defense wins championships, which is true, but Luka Doncic for AD is just insanity.
Yes, and it came out of nowhere. No one expected this to happen. It was such a surprise. So I think this is equivalent to, let's say, you're back in high school, like you're young, you don't know anything, you're back in high school, and your girlfriend of 3 weeks, you're in love, right? And your girlfriend of 3 weeks calls you, not texts you, calls you and tells you to break up. And and you're completely surprised. Out of nowhere, what just happened? You're still you don't even process it. Like that level. It's that level of, wow, what just happened?
It was insane.
Is this an Onion article? Okay, like that's how we feel about this trade.
And that wasn't the only trade.
LeBron didn't even know. The agents didn't even know.
The coaches didn't even know.
Only the GM. I think it was literally like a 10, 15-minute call between the GMs of both teams.
Yeah,
they were just agreeing upon.
It was insane. And that wasn't even the only big trade. That was a lopsided one. The other one less lopsided. But what happened was De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs.
Okay.
Zach LaVine to the Kings. Now, the Kings, in my opinion, are clear winners of this trade. Spurs get superstar De'Aaron Fox to pair with Wemby. That's going to be a dangerous duo. Okay. But the Kings, they give up star player De'Aaron Fox, but they get another star player in Zach LaVine. Sidi Sissoko, a role player, and then 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. The Bulls get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their original 2025 first.
Okay.
Which that first-round pick is going to be a high lottery pick. But a high lottery pick and 3 solid players for De'Aaron Fox, I think you could have done a little better. But across the board, the big, real winners here, I think, are going to be the Kings and maybe the Spurs, although I don't think the Bulls are necessarily losers here. It's not a lopsided trade. Chicago now has a lot of young players. They've gotten big contracts off the table, so they're set to kind of rebuild. So we'll see ultimately who the winners of that are. Not as shocking as the Luka trade.
Oh my goodness.
Still big.
Oh goodness.
Speaking of surprises,
yes,
we're going to pivot to the NHL where the Red Wings have caught fire since we had our last show.
They're in the wild card.
Yeah, they're now in the wild card currently as it stands. They are up big from their previous performance. The new coach, Todd McClellan, like I said, has energized this team, but way more so than I thought. Since December 28th, we are the best team in the NHL by record. One of our rookies is on the first line playing great. You've got Lucas Raymond playing great hockey. You've got NMU alum Dominic Stein, who just recently got called up to the Red Wings, which is really excited. You've got some of the best goaltending in the league. I actually don't think Shine played last night, but still, he's been exciting to watch. You've got DeBrincat and Raymond and some others just performing really, really well. This team is fun. They are good to watch. And I think the way they are playing, they should be able to get their way into the playoffs. And that was really necessary because we were near the bottom of the standings at the beginning of the season, and I was starting to question my sanity because Detroit sports was just stuck in such a mediocre place.
Yeah.
But the Red Wings, I think, position themselves for a playoff spot. And I don't think they're going to make a championship or anything, but I think they're going to be tough if they can make the playoffs for whoever they play against.
Yeah, I think for a long run, the Red Wings would always go to the playoffs, and then it just stopped, and now we're back.
Right. I think it's interesting, too. The Pistons are also kind of on the come up.
Yes, compared to last year.
They've been playing better. They've kind of been a little shaky their last 3-4 games.
Yeah.
But over 500, we had like 4 wins at this point in time last year. And at the moment, despite their last couple games not looking too good, they're sitting in a play-in spot, which they're better than the Hawks, Magic, and Bulls below them, and the Sixers, who are just in free fall.
Yeah.
I truly think this might be the year they make the play-in tournament. I think that's a really realistic expectations. Yeah, so I think exciting times ahead for our Pistons. It's about time. It's been really frustrating to watch this team. So good to see from them. Good to see from the Red Wings. Detroit sports, I think now across the board is really, really on the come up. I look forward to seeing what the Lions do in free agency. And
yeah, who did we hire as our offensive defensive coordinator? Because I know you wanted to bring outside people, and there were some outside people.
We hired internally on defense. I believe his name was Tanner Engstrand.
That sounds about right.
And then on offense, we got John Morton, which I mentioned earlier was the Broncos quality control assistant.
And do you think he's a good pick? Or is he yet to be seen?
It's fine. I don't hate it. It's okay. Same with Engstrand. I'm not overly impressed. I think there were better candidates, but I also trust Campbell to get the job done.
Okay.
And I really think in this case, it's going to be a time will tell type of thing. I just opened Instagram because that's where I was looking at the De'Aaron Fox trade from.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite accounts that posts like brackets, they did worst choices ever, and they put trading Luka as the 1 seed. Keep in mind, this has stuff like Eve eating the apple, or selling $10,000 of Bitcoin for pizza, or Pistons drafting
10,000 Bitcoins because of the first transaction. But we didn't know that. It was 2009.
Well, I know, but we know now.
It was Bitcoins per penny.
We also got drafting Darko Milicic. That hurts me as a Detroit fan.
Yeah, how was he bad? He was that
awful.
bad?
You want to know who we missed out on?
Who?
Oh, some random guy who didn't pan out named Carmelo Anthony.
Oh.
Yeah, Darko was never panned out. And had we drafted Carmelo, he would have gotten a championship, which he never got. So
what was that? What year was that?
2004.
Oh, that's right.
But anyway, I just want to bring that up because I thought that was funny. But I don't think there's much else. It's kind of a quiet year or a quiet month in the sports world. But
I don't know the Luka stuff.
The Luka trade was loud, but like overall,
that sparked some stuff.
It's been a quiet month of the sports. I've been really excited by the Red Wings and the Pistons. I look forward to Lions draft and free agency and the decisions they make there. I know Myles Garrett is on the open market. Well, I don't advocate going after him. I can tell you that a defensive line of, we probably have to trade Darius Smith at that point, but a defensive line of DJ Reader, Hutchinson, Garrett, and McNeil would be scary. You would have one of the top 5 defenses in the league with that. If you get a couple guys in the secondary. I don't think we got the money for that. But if you were able to get Myles Garrett, boy, oh boy, I would pick this team to go back to the Super Bowl if you could pull that off. That being said, though, I think that's really all I've got to talk about. Like I said, other than the shocking Luka trade, a pretty slow sports month.
I think the last thing that I'll put down is the Rocky League teams for our esports program are starting up today.
Woo!
We have 3 teams playing today, including yours truly is on the third team. And so we'll be doing something tonight. I think one of the games will be live streamed on Twitch. So yeah, look up the NMU Esports for that. But other than that, esports getting started. Our NMU Wildcat logo, like esports sign, has like finally been like screwed onto the wall. It's been like laying like on the ground against the wall for months now. Now it's on the wall, and so
exciting stuff.
It is.
Hearing how your team does next week, and I look forward to watching another week of the Red Wings and Pistons, because I think finally Detroit sports is watchable again.
Yeah, and that being said, this is the Jack and Dom Radio Show. Just to remind everyone, the opinions said in the show do not represent the opinions of this radio station or the university. You can now get the show where you can find podcasts, whether it be on Amazon, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And also, we're on social media. You can currently find us on Twitter and Facebook at the Jack and Dom Radio Show. Definitely, if you guys have any topic suggestions, opinions, or anything like that, definitely tag us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll try to get some more social media sites potentially up on there so that, if anyone has an opinion or a topic suggestion, we can include that for you. Anyway, this is the Jack and Dom Radio Show. We will see you guys next week.